Good morning. Good morning, and welcome to the Morning Report. My name is Willie Lawson. The Morning Report is a production of fightbackmedia.com, 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 and fightbackmediatv.com. Yes, I talk for a living. You wouldn't know it this morning. But anyway, I am super happy that you're here. I hope you had a chance to check out the video I did, the interview I did with Nehemiah Jefferson. It is on YouTube. Hopefully this morning I can get the entire thing, whole hour conversation up on Rumble. I just ran out of time, though. I just ran out of time. So if you would, if you guys would do me the solid of, and I know some of you are not fans of the YouTube, and I get it, I understand. But if you would go on to the YouTube and check that out for me, subscribe, that helps more people see it. The more subscribers I have, and the more views that video has, that helps more people who basically have never heard these things and seen Pastor Jefferson helps it get out. It does. It uses what we have left of the algorithm, and it sort of gets around the shadow banning that's happening to the channel. So if you would do that and help us out there, I promise this morning I will put the whole thing up on Rumble, and it will be on the website, on both websites, on fightbackmedia.com and Fightback Media TV, as soon as we're done here doing this today. All right. Stories to cover. Liz Cheney is out. That's really, I don't know if that's reason for celebration, but it definitely isn't a surprise. We'll go over the numbers. Adam Kinzinger is lamenting his friend getting kicked out by, not by Trump, but by her constituents. And we'll talk more about this later. But she's out. Jill Biden, first lady, sorry, has contracted the Rona, and everybody here at Fightback Media wishes the first lady well. She's up in age, like the president, she's up in age. And what we learned here in Florida was that you have to protect those folks that are up in age. And so we wish her well, and hope that she is on a regimen that will help her not have severe disease, and that she recovers and she is able to enjoy the grandchildren and the rest of her life in style and comfort. So again, our prayers go out to Jill Biden. She has contracted the Rona, which means that she needs to stay away from her husband until she tests negative, I think twice or something like that. Again, and we'll talk a little bit about that too. It is, all this stuff about Mar-a-Lago and these things are going on, and these, the hyper cynical of us are saying, we see what they're showing us. So what aren't they showing us? We hear what they're talking about. But what aren't they talking about? Well, the FBI gets a little bit more egg on their face. If you guys remember the plot to the so-called Republican or the conservative or the I don't know what they were calling it, the plot to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer, governor of Michigan. You remember that? And then we find out later that this was all cooked up by the FBI. So the FBI gets a little bit more egg on their face concerning the failed entrapment plot involving that particular thing. So we'll talk about that too. All righty, we're gonna take a little break. We'll be back with more of the program right after, if I can get to the button, right after these messages. All right. Well, again, thank you ever so much for coming. We appreciate that. Rock and Reef Charters. The cool thing about Florida is that there's a season, but there isn't really a season. So if you want to, like, if you didn't want to go out there in the heat of the summer, uh, when we get out there in August and September and October, especially in October where it gets a little cooler, it'll be really sweet, really nice, really great days to go out on Three Rooker Island and and chill out and and bring some food, some frosty adult beverages, and they have a slide on the boat. It'd be really cool. So just don't think about it being a summer activity. It is a year-round activity here in Florida, and you want to check them out. rockandreefcharters.com, rockandreefcharters.com, rockandreefcharters.com. All right, Liz Cheney is out. Unfortunately, she's not out today. That's the thing. It would be awesome if you lose your primary. Okay, you're out. You got to clean your office out. You got to get out of here. And I'm sure they probably start cleaning their offices out. You still have to work there, and everybody who is, all her staff are like looking for jobs now, and this is part of the swamp mentality. Some of the people who work in her office, some of her assistants and the like, are probably going to stay, and they like the Washington lifestyle. They've got, those that are married and have kids or whatever, have kids in school. They live here. They live there now. They live in Virginia now. And they're like, we like it here. We're going to have to find a job. We're going to have to find some way to stay here. We're going to go work for somebody else. And the person they go work for may not be a Republican. They may be a Democrat, because these people are good at their jobs. So that mentality, in this particular case, that anti-Trump mentality stays in the staff. I'm guessing a lot of Democrats who are looking to snap up a lot of her people who are upper tier in her staff. I'm thinking that they're ready to snap those people up because they already have the right mentality. I mean, they work for a Republican, but that doesn't necessarily make them a Republican. They work with somebody who said they were a conservative, but that doesn't necessarily mean that these people are conservatives at all. Obviously, Liz Cheney is not. Liz Cheney is Rhino, but whatever. She is out. Let's see here. Let me get you some numbers, because I love to get you some numbers. Oh, and of course, I have reached my limits because I simply will not subscribe to the New York Times online thing. I just won't. Frankly, their the way they have their thing set up is very good. Ain't nothing but love for that. But because it's good. But I'm simply not going to give them not even $4 a month. No, it's like $1 a month. Am I petty? Am I petty? The answer is yes. I am petty as heck. So petty. Let's see if I can get the numbers here, because there is an interesting. It's funny. The numbers were readily available last night, but they don't want the numbers out. They do not want the numbers out, because the numbers tell the tale. The numbers tell the tale. See if I can get 538. You would think I'd have these. Oh, here we go. Lisa Murkowski survived her open primary in Alaska. So okay. Here we go. Wow, it was worse than it was when I went to bed. The results of the Republican primary for Wyoming's at-large congressional district as of 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That was 7 hours ago, almost 8 hours ago. Liz Cheney had 49,316 votes, which was 28.9% of the votes cast, while Harriet Hagerman had 113,025 votes, or 66.3% of the votes, 2/3 of all votes in her primary landslide. Absolute crushing landslide. Crushing landslide over Liz Cheney, who was the incumbent. At this point, 99% of the expected vote has been reported. So there aren't any counties, there aren't any areas of Wyoming that we're just waiting for, we're waiting for this area to come in. And Liz Cheney never led in this, never led. And we knew for weeks that this was going to be a problem. Now, a lot of people will say that she is, that Trump got her. No, she got herself. Let's just be honest. She got herself. I don't know, and I thought about this last night before I went to bed. I don't know if Liz Cheney actually believes the stuff she's saying. I don't know if she actually believes it or not. But to hold at this point, to hold herself up as some sort of champion, it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird. She may indeed believe that she did the right thing. She might believe. She might believe that that she fell on the sword for the nation and fell on the sword for the Republican Party. She might believe that. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and say that I know what's in her heart, because I don't. But it just seems weird. It just seems tough to believe, especially in the days now where people are so attracted to and just love the adoration of others. And she was getting a lot, and she wasn't one of those Republicans that, especially in the age of Trump, that was getting a lot of kudos. He wasn't going, Liz Cheney's doing a great job and all that kind of. She was never on the inside of that circle. Now, I tweeted last night, because I still tweet, although Twitter hates me, and that's fine. Twitter and YouTube both hate me, and that's fine. That this is evidence, or more evidence, that the Bush, Cheney, McCain wing of the Republican Party is done. That era is over. It's over. That era is over. For the first time in a long time, we won't have a Cheney or a Bush or McCain or a Clinton in office anywhere in the country. And things change. It wasn't Trump that got Liz Cheney. It was Liz Cheney that got Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney went down this rabbit hole on Trump, leaving behind her constituency, because she had her sword drawn against Trump, and basically her constituency was like, no, Liz, no. She left behind her constituency, and her constituency had to tell her so. This is why primaries are so important. Her constituency told her so. Some people say that she didn't read the room. When you and for those of you who don't know what that means, so if you go to a gathering and you're on the dais or you're at the podium, and you have a joke in mind, for instance, and that only a certain amount are going to get this joke. This is either going to go really well or really bad. And sometimes if you read the room, you look at the room, and you sort of get a feeling about, yeah, maybe I'll skip this one this time, or maybe I'll go ahead and tell it because it's gonna crush, because I read the room right. I got the feeling from what I could see and hear how this particular statement was gonna play out. Read the room. Um, Liz Cheney didn't read the room. Now she may have been pushing back on Trump since the beginning, seeing that Trump said about John McCain, uh, "I like it when my heroes, I like it when my heroes don't surrender." Wow, I like it when my heroes don't. I like my heroes that don't surrender. Wow, you know, because McCain spent all that time in a POW camp. You know what I'm saying? Uh, and during the 2016 elections, Trump went all in on Jeb Bush. Jeb, I mean, the only thing that Trump didn't tell Jeb Bush is, "Oh, by the way, give me your lunch money." It's the only thing that Trump didn't do to Jeb Bush. And Jeb Bush says, you know, Donald, you can't insult your way to the White House." Well, apparently you can. Apparently you can. Um, yeah, calling calling my friend Marco Rubio, little Marco, abusive, absolutely abusive. All's fair in love and war. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, insulting Ted Cruz. Just went all in. Dude just went all in. And I remember watching one of the debates, and I was watching this debate, this watch party, which, you know, that I was invited to with the Republican Party. That CNN was there as we were watching, getting reactions, and this is the one where Trump had decided, his people had decided that he would, quote, behave. And people, and there are a lot of people who left and went, "Well, that, you see, that was better. That was better." And I'm on my phone on the way home driving. I was me. And I remember going to Drudge, and the big headline on Drudge was, "Finally, it was boring." So maybe Liz Cheney is still, you know, is still mad, is still salty about the way Trump talked about John McCain, and you know, and of course Dick Cheney doesn't like that, the way he talked about Bush and blah blah blah. And maybe she was sort of being, you know, standing up for her people. Maybe. Well, she's gonna have to stand up for her people over there now, because she is now out. The big news from the evening remains that Representative Liz Cheney's defeat. More of a vote, more of the vote is the margin by which Liz Cheney lost is 37 points. She got crushed. So this idea that people were floating, that there would be this sort of Operation Chaos, that some Democrats and independents would cross over and vote in the Republican primary, but she would have needed. It says that she would have needed 40,000 votes for that to happen. But as I'm looking at this number, it was going to take a lot more than that. 40,000 votes to get close of people actually doing that. And people talk about that happening a lot. Operation Chaos. I remember Operation Chaos being one of the things that Rush Limbaugh talked about, where Republicans should cross over and vote in Democrat primaries, and push, you know, and get weak Democrats elected so Republicans could win. Well, he didn't come up with that. Democrats been doing that for years. But anyway, so that's what happened there. Liz Cheney is out. Interesting news in the Alaska District 1 special election, House race. Um, Patola and Palin are in a runoff. Sarah Palin is in a runoff um, for that House seat. I think that's a special election because the guy who was in it died, right? Yeah, that was the one. Let's see. Anything else of interest in that? Mary Mary Patola and Sarah Palin looks like they're going to be, and fellow Republican Nick Burr Besage, I guess his name is, has 29%. So it looks like they're going to be in a runoff. I'm not sure. We're going to see. We're going to see. She survived. But only like 67% of the vote is in, and it is close. We'll see what happens as that goes on, and if something crazy happens, then we'll let you know. All right, we're gonna take a little break. We'll be back with more of the program right after these messages. All righty, we're back. Thank you ever so much for spending some time with us this morning. A lot of times in media anymore, it isn't what they're saying that is concerning to us. It's what they're not saying. It's not what they're showing us that is concerning. It's what they're not showing us that is concerning. We live in a theater of distraction. More times than not, this should be the theme song of the media. Ladies and gentlemen, ignore the man behind the curtain. Really? Yeah, you remember that from The Wizard of Oz? Ignore the man behind the curtain. The great and powerful Oz has spoken. The great and powerful CNN has spoken. Ignore that. So you wonder. So you're wondering. So what's going on that this Mar-a-Lago thing had to happen? Well, I'll tell you what happened. It's an older story, but it provides an interesting and embarrassing tale for the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Remember the 2020 kidnapping plot against Democrat Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, which was later exposed as a failed FBI entrapment plot? They're trying to get some people to go in on this so they could, I don't know, they can remain to be the political enforcement wing of the Democrat Party. The supposed masterminds got charged, but none of them were indicted because the case was marinated with lies. The case was supposed to be a slam dunk for the feds. It was a train wreck. But the damage was done. Whitmer weaponized the FBI informant-led plot to attack Trump in the waning days of the 2020 election, which was possibly the Bureau's intent. They fabricated evidence to spy on the Trump campaign officials and kept the Russian collusion circus going while knowing that it was a Democratic funded opposition research project that was unverifiable. The FBI has done many an election interference operation since 2016. Two other alleged conspirators are being retried, which is led to this FBI informant dropping some damning information about the Justice Department. In May 2020, protesters, some of them who were armed, stormed the state capitol in Lansing. The uproar occurred over Whitmer's continued use of emergency powers during COVID. But the latest development here is that the FBI reportedly told the Michigan police to let the armed protesters into the building. Our friends at Twitchy had it first. Ken Bissinger tweeted, "New, according to the FBI informant, the Michigan State Police allowed armed protesters into the Capitol in Lansing on April 30th, 2020, at the specific request of the FBI, which wanted to, quote, de-escalate the situation." Don Chappell, a confidential human source in the Governor Whitmer kidnapping case, testified now that he alerted his FBI handlers that he was concerned members of the Wolverine Watchmen, an armed militant group, he had infiltrated was preparing for violence outside the building. So Chapel wore a wire with a live transmitter. Less than a dozen watchmen were at the event. Less than 12 people. But in the end, hundreds of protesters were allowed into the building. Although the presence of the protests in the Capitol was disruptive, there was no violence in the end. Just trying to cook it up. Just trying to cook it up. Our great FBI thought that allowing armed protesters inside a state government building would ameliorate the situation transpiring in and around the Capitol. This is what's going on. This is what they're not telling you. This is what they're not telling you. Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing is what they're not telling you. This is what's going on. We talked earlier in the opening. First Lady Joe Biden has tested positive for COVID after previously testing negative in previous regular screenings. After testing negative for COVID-19 on Monday during her regular testing cadence, the First Lady began to develop cold-like symptoms late in the evening. Elizabeth Alexander, Joe Biden's communication director, explained on a statement she tested negative again on a rapid antigen test, but the PCR test came back positive. All right. First Lady's office continued by noting Joe Biden is, quote, this is what they said, double vaccinated, double boosted, and only experiencing mild symptoms. That is, Dr. Joe Biden is quadruple vaccinated and still got COVID, albeit mildly. Another case that illustrates why the CDC recently changed its guidance to treat vaccinated and unvaccinated Americans equally. Joe Biden has been prescribed a course of what else? Paxlovid, a Pfizer drug, and following CDC guidance, will be isolated from others for at least 5 days. The First Lady's office added close contact of the First Ladies have been notified, and she is currently staying at a private residence in South Carolina and will return home after she receives two consecutive negative COVID tests. The First Lady had been on vacation with President Biden and Hunter. Hunter on Kiowa Island in South Carolina since Wednesday, likely making both close contacts of the First Lady. President Biden contracted COVID earlier this year on July 21st, then recovered for a few days before testing positive again with a rebound case of the virus on July 30th, following his treatment. Also Paxlovid, a Pfizer drug. Again, our best to Joe Biden, First Lady of the United States, that she gets over this quickly with no lingering effects. Because right now, there's a Philadelphia school district that is deciding that it's time to mask up at least for the first couple of weeks of the school year. Now, this is one of these places, Philadelphia is one of those places where, yes, there is a resurgence, and this idea is, let me go ahead and read the story. When students and staff return to the school on August 29th in the Philadelphia School District, they'll be required to wear a mask for at least 2 school weeks until September 9th, per a new policy released Friday. Christopher, these names, Dermogli, mentioned in a writing for the Washington Examiner, this calls to mind the idea the country needs remember, 2 weeks to stop the spread, 15 days, remember that? We could soon be entering the 4th calendar year under the pandemic, though, with Democrat running cities, who knows? And the numbers are up in Philadelphia. They have a medium risk. So they are making kids and teachers wear masks in the school district in the beginning of the year. At least they're open. Our prayers also go out to John Fetterman. John Fetterman survived a stroke earlier and he is running for a. I think isn't John running for a um, statewide seat there? But he seems to be. Oh, he's running against Dr. Oz for Congress. So hopefully he's okay. He seemed to be struggling putting sentences together, kind of like I was just then. So our prayers go out to John Fetterman. I hope that he is fine. He seems to be struggling a little bit. We won't play any video of him struggling because that's kind of douchey. So I'm not going to do that. All right. Until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, y'all take care of yourself. We will see you when we see you. Be well now.